This is the necklace that we're going to make. And this is the necklace made with Christmas colors. So let's talk about the materials we're going to need. For this necklace, you're going to need 4mm round crystals. These are check crystals. The diagram shows you how to do it in 3 colors of the 4mm crystals. I'm going to combine 2 of those colors and do it in 2 colors. So I have 20 of the accent color and I have 105 of the main color. I also have 20 6mm round check crystals. And so these are the crystals I'm going to use for the necklace. It will make a kind of a short necklace, so you may need more of these if you want it to be longer. You're also going to need 11 Toho seed beads, 2 6 or 8 Toho seed beads to connect the clasp with jump rings. The diagram shows you how to sew the clasp directly into the piece, so you don't need the jump rings or the 6 or 8 Toho seed beads. But I'm going to be doing this one using the jump rings and the 6 or 8 Toho seed beads. That just makes it easier to change out the clasp if you ever need to. So let's get started. I'm using a size 10 needle with 6-pound fire line, and I'm going to start by putting on an 11-0, a 6 or 8, and an 11-0 seed bead and string that on. I'm going to go back through those 3 seed beads to form a loop. And then I'll tie a knot. Next, I'm going to add a 4mm crystal and 3 11-0 seed beads. String that on. Then I'll go back through the crystal and through the other 11-0 seed bead, the one that I'm coming out of this one, but I'm going to go through this one. Then I'm going to go through the 6 or 8 seed bead and continue through the next 11-0 seed bead. Next, I'm going to string on 6 11-0 seed beads. And we want to go back through, if I count back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the one I want to go through. That creates a little floret there. Then I add 2 seed beads and go through the next 2 seed beads here. 1, 2. Next we're going to put on the 6mm accent crystal. Start by putting on 11-0 6mm round crystal and 3 11-0 seed beads and stringing that on. And then I want to go back through the crystal. I'll add a seed bead and go through the next 2 seed beads here. Next, I'll kind of frame that 6mm crystal in seed beads. I add 5 11-0 seed beads. I'm coming out of here and I want to frame it, so I'll go through these 3 seed beads at this end. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm ready to frame this side. Add 5 seed beads and go through and follow it all the way back around to this tip. So I'm going through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8. 9, 10. So now I'm coming out of this tip seed bead. I'm going to make another one of these components. I'll start by adding 1 seed bead, 4mm crystal, and 3 seed beads. String that on. Go back through the crystal. Add a seed bead and go through these 2 seed beads at this end. I'll make the little drop. We add 6 seed beads, string that on. Count back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go through that one. Then I add 2 seed beads and go through the next 2 seed beads on this end. Now I'm ready for the next crystal, the 6mm. Add a seed bead, 6mm crystal, and 3 seed beads. String that on. Then we'll go back through the crystal. I'll add a seed bead and go through these 2 seed beads. Now I'm ready to frame this. Add 5 seed beads and go through these 3 seed beads. 1, 2, and 3. We'll frame this side, add 5 seed beads, and go follow through these 3 seed beads and all the way back around till I'm coming out of here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10 puts me through the tip here. Now I'm ready for another one of these components, and so I'll just keep repeating this. Do it one more time here. Start by adding a seed bead, 4mm crystal, and 3 seed beads. String that on. Go back through the crystal. Add 1 seed bead and go through these 2 seed beads. And we'll make the drop. Add 6 seed beads, string that on. Count back through 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go back up through that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And make sure that's pulled tight. Add 2 seed beads and go through the next 2 seed beads. 1 and 2. Now I'm going to make another one of the 6mm crystal components. Add a seed bead, 6mm crystal, and 3 seed beads. String that on. Go back through the crystal. Add a seed bead and go through these 2 seed beads. Now we are ready to frame the crystal. We add 5 seed beads, and we want to go through these 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we want to frame this side. Add 5 seed beads and go through these 3 seed beads and follow it all the way around to this tip. That'll be 10 seed beads, so we'll start with 1 and 2. Three, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9. And 10. So this is the way the first row repeats. We're going to continue that through the length of the necklace. And then I'll show you how to make the other end with the 6 or 8 seed bead. So I'll continue until I'm at the end. Here I've finished the first row. I've put on my 20th 6mm crystal, and I'm ready to make the last component before the second row, but I've run out of string thread. So I'm going to continue that first. So I'm going to take a new thread, tie a square knot, and with these two ends, I'm going to take a lighter. I have a torch style lighter, but you can use any lighter, and just kind of touch the edges so that there is a ball on the end. Then you can pull the thread ends in, and so now you've connected to another thread here. So I'm going to make the last component before starting the second row. So I'm going to put on an 11/0 4mm main color crystal, a 11/0 6 or 8 seed bead, and an 11/0, and I'm going to string that on. Here I'm actually going to go through the last 3 seed beads I put on to kind of form a loop there. Then I'm going to go back through the crystal, I'll add a seed bead, and I'll flip this over so I can go through these 2 seed beads. Flip that back over, and we are ready to make the last drop. So I add 6 seed beads, string that on, count back 4, 1, 2, 3, and go through the 4th one. Add 2 seed beads, and this time I'm going to go through all 3 of these seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go through the crystal, through these 3 seed beads, and back through the crystal. So I'll go through the crystal first. Through these 3 seed beads, 1, 2, 3, and then back through the crystal. Here I'm going to go through these 3 seed beads. One, two, and 3. Now I'm going to continue going down and through and around, so I'm coming out this way towards the end of this tip seed bead. So there's 5 seed beads total. 1, 2, 3. 4. And 5. And now that we are coming out this way from the tip of this drop, we are ready for our second row. I'm ready to start the second row. I'm coming out of this tip here, and I've flipped my piece around. And so I'm going to start by putting on 2 seed beads, a 4mm crystal, and another seed bead. I'll string that on. Then I'm going to go back up through the crystal and the next seed bead. Then I'll add a seed bead and go through this seed bead here. Now I'm going to continue up through this bead and out through this corner here. And through this corner, this tip here. Now that I'm coming out of this tip, I'm going to go down through the next one. Next, I'm going to put on 8 seed beads, a crystal, a seed bead, crystal, and a seed bead, and string that on. Then I'm going to go back up through the last crystal and the last seed bead. Then I'll add a 4mm crystal and 8 seed beads. And I'm going to go up through the side of this floret here. Then I'm going to go through this tip. Then I'm going to go through one more seed bead here. Then I put on 13 seed beads, and I want to go down. There's a floret here, but I want to go down the seed bead before it. And then I want to go around the floret, so I'm coming out of this seed bead. So I'll go through the next seed bead. Go through, down through the next seed bead, following it around, and then through this tip seed bead. So I'm ready to make my next component like this, coming out of the tip here. I'm going to add 2 seed beads, a 4mm crystal and a seed bead, and string that on. Then I want to go back up through the crystal and the next seed bead. Then I add a seed bead and go through this seed bead at the bottom of the floret. Now I want to follow the floret all the way up, over, and down. So through these 3 seed beads. 1, 2, and 3. Then I put on 8 seed beads, a crystal, a seed bead, a crystal, and a seed bead. String that on. Then I want to go back up through the last crystal and seed bead. Then I'm going to put on a crystal and 8 seed beads. And I want to go up through this. There's a floret here, and I want to go up through the side of this floret. Now I want to go through the next 2 seed beads, so 1, which is the corner, the tip, or the top of that floret, and then the next one. Next, I put on 13 seed beads, string that on, and now I want to go through the seed bead before this floret. So I'll go through the seed bead before the floret and the next seed bead, which is the top of the floret. Then I want to follow the floret around to the bottom, so going through the next seed bead. And through the tip. So we're ready to make another component like this. Start with 2 seed beads, a 4mm crystal, and a seed bead. String that on. Then I want to go back up through the crystal and the next seed bead. Then I add a seed bead and go back through the bottom of that floret. I'm going to go follow the floret around till I'm coming out down on this side, so the next 3 in the floret. 1, 2, and 3. I add 8 seed beads, crystal, seed bead, crystal, seed bead, and I string that on. I want to go back up through the last crystal and the next seed bead. Add a 4mm crystal and 8 seed beads. And I want to go up through the side of that floret. Then I want to continue through the top of that floret and the next seed bead. Then I add 13 seed beads. And I want to go through the seed bead before this floret and the next seed bead, which is the top of the floret. Then I want to continue around the floret till I'm coming out of the bottom of the floret. So that's pretty much the pattern to repeat for the second row. So I'm going to continue alternating between making this component and making this one, and just keep continuing to the end of the necklace. Here I've completed the second row except for the last component. And so I'm going to finish that last component and show you how to start the third row. So I'm coming out of this bead, and so I continue around the floret till I'm coming out of the tip. I add 2 seed beads, a 4mm crystal, and a seed bead, and I string that on. I go back up through the crystal and the next seed bead. I add a seed bead, and I go through the bottom of the floret, or the top of that drop, basically. Then I want to go follow this floret all the way around till I'm coming out down out of this seed bead. 1, 2, and 3. I add 8 seed beads, a crystal, seed bead, crystal, seed bead, and I string that on. I go back through the last crystal and the next seed bead. Then I add a crystal and 8 seed beads. And I want to go back up through the side of that floret there. So I've made the last component, and I'm coming out of this seed bead here. This one right here. So I want to continue up and around, go across the crystal, back through the crystal, and back down, so I'm coming out down this side. So that's my thread path. It's kind of a little bit of a figure 8 here. So coming out of this seed bead, I'm going to follow it all the way back up, going through 1, 2, 3, and then the next 3, 4, 5, 6, and through the crystal. And then going through these 3 seed beads at this end to turn around. And back through the crystal. And then I want to go back through these 3 and down this side. So go through these 3 at the end. 1, 2, 3, and I'll start on my way down. Going through 3 seed beads there. And coming out of that tip bead there, I'm going to go 4 more down the side here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll go 1 more through so that where I'm coming out of, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 before the crystal. So that's where I should be coming out of. And here is where I'm starting to use my accent color 4mm crystal. So I put on 6 seed beads, crystal and a seed bead. I string that on. I want to go back up through the crystal and the next seed bead. I add 5 seed beads, and I want to count up 4 seed beads to go through the 5th. So from the crystal, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go through the 5th. And continue up. So I skipped these 4 going through the next 5. All right, so next, to get ready for the next one, we're coming out of this seed bead. We're going to go through the tip or the top here of this whole drop. And then we want to go through the down through the next 5 seed beads. So there should be 4 after that that are before the crystal. So that's where you should be coming out. We add 6 seed beads, an accent 4mm crystal, and another seed bead. We string that on. Go back up through the crystal and the next seed bead. Add 5 seed beads. Skip the first 1, 2, 3, 4 and go through the 5th and continue up around through the next 5 seed beads. Next we want to go through the next seed bead, which is the tip. And then we want to go down the side through the next 5 seed beads. And that should leave 4 before the crystal. So coming out of the correct place. And we'll do one more time. We add 6 seed beads, a 4mm accent crystal, and another seed bead. And we string that on. Go back up through the crystal and the next seed bead. we add 5 seed beads, and after the crystal we skip 1, 2, 3, 4 and go through the 5th one, going through 5 seed beads. Then we go through the tip, which is the next seed bead, and then down the side 5 seed beads. So you pretty much just continue that all the way to the end of the necklace, and then we'll show you how to finish it off. Okay, so I'm on my last component in the 3rd row, so I'm going to put on 6 seed beads, a 4mm crystal, and a seed bead. String that on. I want to go back through the crystal and the next seed bead. Then I add 5 seed beads, and I count 4 up, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go through the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. So 5 seed beads. Go through the tip. And then from here, I'm pretty much done with the necklace, so I just want to turn a few corners before I tie a knot. So I'm going to go back up through these 3 seed beads. Through the next 6 or 8 seed bead on the end, and through the next seed bead and crystal, and I'll go through these 3 seed beads at the end of the crystal. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go through the crystal one more time. And here's where I can tie a knot. So I'll put my needle under the thread between the crystal and the seed bead. Go through the loop once and twice, and pull. And I'll go ahead and snip both of those ends, and then we can attach the clasp. Okay, I've snipped both ends of the thread off the ends of the necklace, and it's about 16 inches long. With the clasp, it'll be about 16 and a half. So I just take my jump ring and I open it. Then I feed it through the large seed bead on the end. I can add the clasp, and then close it. So I'll just add a jump ring to the other end and we'll be finished. And that is how you make a Cascade necklace.